Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. You know what? If nobody shows up, we're still going to have a meeting. And I appreciate all y'all coming so much. And we have communicated with all the senators and the House reps involved. I know that Representative Glanton is sick today, so I know he will not be here. I appreciate Representative. You're welcome to come up here and join us. Please come up. Please, by all means. And here comes another representative. Please come on in and join us. I appreciate your interest. Y'all come on up. Seriously, y'all come sit up here. So I know that there are other folks waiting for this room, so I do want to go ahead and get started just out of courtesy to my other representatives that have had their meetings pushed. So again, thank you for coming, and I'll let you guys take it away. Are we on? Let's see. Are you on?
Let's test.
There we
you
go.
go. Okay, so let me acknowledge Board Member Frida Hardage here, and thank you for being here. Okay, when I can't answer the questions, I'm going to say, Frida, please help me out. So we're going to play a little bit of a video, but real quick, I want to give you an update on the bus situation. In general, rough numbers. Okay, we have 3,245 represented ATU workers at MARTA, and during the course of the Super Bowl, the week of, it got to the point where we were given reports out, and there was an AM report, a noon report, and an evening report. And if you can think of it this way, we have different shifts where people are coming on and off. So if you have, say, 3 shifts in a day, folks are coming in, maybe somebody allegedly is sicking out. We might have hit a peak of about 130 people on a particular day of this many folks being out. So with the fact that we have about 1,200 to 1,300 operators, and we're hitting a peak of about 130, and that was the biggest day. We never really got to the point where we exceeded 10% of the operators not showing up to work. And in my simple math, chainsaw math, if we have 3,245 employees and you take 130 operators out of there, we still had well over 3,000 MARTA ATU workers and rail car and cleaning and station attendants all chipping in on the Super Bowl. So I know the media may have reported like the sick out was really impactful. It wasn't impactful, and the rest of the MARTA folks just were there doing their jobs. So I just wanted to get that clear before we start. Okay.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay. So they're leaving me to do some IT work up here, so we'll see how it goes. Yep, do we have the volume?
Great.
So let me shut this off here. Okay. Okay, and we'll just hold there. So what I'd like to say is I think, Marta, with the 620 volunteer shifts where we pulled the administrative staff out, gave them some pretty thorough customer service training. Not many of us had much sleep over about a 5-day period. The fact that we ran 24-hour rail service with extra bus service a day in advance for all the wonderful shows that we had at State Farm Arena. And the fact that it was the single largest ridership day we've had ever since the implementation of the Breeze machines were put in, and we had that electronic recording Saturday, even more so than Super Bowl Sunday. All the families came out to enjoy the festivities in the city of Atlanta, and the ridership was just absolutely unbelievable. So I'm glad to be here at a Martoc meeting and actually give positive feedback. And Marta did it, and we had our doubters, but I mean, everyone really pulled together, and it was a total team effort. So I'd be glad to handle any questions, even though I'm glad there's only a few of you up here today.
Well, congratulations, first of all. I'm so proud of all of your efforts, and I think that certainly all the visitors to the Metro Atlanta area, this was a big piece of their impression, I think, of the city and of our area. So I'm very grateful for all your sleepless nights and staying up and going that extra mile, because I think it probably will result in maybe another Super Bowl here and some other big events. So I'm very, very grateful for your efforts. And I guess my thing would be what lessons were learned that we can take away to make rider service better. I know you mentioned customer service with the volunteers to make it a better experience for people, every day.
Yeah, I think the ability to provide folks with information and the presence, I will tell you, the toboggans and the scarves, just the fact that you have employees that work for the agency and you don't feel like you're walking alone, abandoned in a very large station, we found that very comforting, that the patrons really enjoyed engaging with the staff, making jokes. I said welcome to California quite a few times at the bottom of an escalator to all of our LA fans that were in, because we actually had decent enough weather on Super Bowl Sunday that it wasn't too bad. But I think the other thing is we had some machines, high-tech machines we brought in for scanning that we put in very obvious locations. Even though the chief of police, her staff did a fantastic job, we had 16 other jurisdictions helping us out, 6 of which were from a different state. Several transit properties came in, and then we had local jurisdictions from around in various counties come in and support. The presence of the security, just to see the uniforms, to see the machines, and we had machines that are equivalent of...
What kind of scanning machine?
So it was a full-body scanner, and it was looking for metal
Oh,
products
wow.
on people.
Okay.
And if you came up at the Vine City, the Dome Station, to the major concourse area, pretty much you could kind of see that you were being screened. You were being screened when you came up the escalator, and when you went through the fare gate, you were being screened again.
Wow.
Laptop, screen, suitcase, professional person sitting there. And then there were other machines that were chemical detection machines that we kept on the unofficial list. You didn't know they were there, but the day of the event, they popped up all over the place, and people were like, well, what are these machines? And they're chemical detection. So that level of comfort that we were really pushing safety and security as well as the customer service. And to boot, I know we said we ran the trains every 3 to 7 minutes. I will tell you, we cleared the major crowd of the Super Bowl in about 90 minutes for the bulk of the riders. And we were running trains in 5 points in Vine City at I'd say about every 90 seconds. There for about a half hour, we were running trains back to back. There was not enough service we could put in there. We wanted to run every train we had that was available to not meet the requirements, but to overperform. And we can put about 1,200 people on a 6-pack train. So if you're running them every 90 seconds, in less than 10 minutes, we're moving 5,000 people. So, I mean, when you really put resources there. Now, what I do want to say is, just kind of in closing, we've set a standard. And the standard is, if you can do it for the Super Bowl, why can't you do it all the other times? Okay, so I get that. And we are working towards taking all of the positive feedback that we had and trying to leverage that with the employees and with the region to up the level of service to our customers, because we realize if Marta shines, the city shines, the state shines. We understand that.
That's great. It's really powerful to hear that the security, as well as the kind of hospitality, which Georgia is so famous for already, really paid off. And I guess I would love to see perhaps I don't know, maybe a volunteer program set up permanently to help people with directions and be maybe ambassadors.
Yeah, and I could probably stand up here for an hour before Colleen cuts me off, and I know you want to get this over. We had junior ambassadors out there, so we had several board members where we had youth organizations out there,
Yeah.
gave them T-shirts and jackets, and they were out there advocating for MARTA and helping customers. So we're kind of trying to teach the next generation to go pro-transit, right? So,
I know. My
Okay.
millennial children would probably get out there and help.
yes. Well, we're taking all volunteers, so we're going to hold you to that, okay? Thank you.
Okay.
And Colleen's going to come up next and
Okay,
talk a
great.
little bit about Gwinnett.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Silcox and Representative Davis. My name is Colleen Kiernan. I'm the Senior Director for Government and Community Affairs at MARTA, and I will be doing the Gwinnett part of this presentation. So before we talk about sort of what we're doing to educate folks about this referendum, I wanted to, it would not be giving Gwinnett enough credit for all the work that they've been doing for the past many years to get us to the place where we're even having that referendum. So I wanted to provide a little bit of background and context for the planning work that went into the Gwinnett County Transit Plan, which is, what is being voted on March 19th, and actually early voting started yesterday. So even back to 2015, Gwinnett was having something called the Great Exchange, which was a public engagement around transportation generally, which then led into the Connect Gwinnett transit planning process. And so that was a 15-month study by Kimley Horn. They evaluated the current state of transit. As you know, Gwinnett County Transit currently operates a total of 5 local bus and 5 express routes in Gwinnett. They came up with a short-term, mid-term, and long-term options. They got public input. They costed the projects. They looked at funding options, and then they prioritized the project. So that went on for 15 months before the Gwinnett County Commission adopted that plan last summer and then subsequently called for the referendum. So this is just a key piece of information. This is something that the county really focuses on every time that they do a presentation about this. But looking at where folks in Gwinnett go to work is the green part of the slide, and then that's where Gwinnetians, people who work in Gwinnett live, and then the purple one is where Gwinnett residents work. And so I think
I'm sorry, I'm confused. The green is...
Sorry, the green one is where Gwinnett workers live. So folks who work in Gwinnett, that's where they live. So, primarily in Gwinnett, but really scattered throughout the region. And then the purple one is where folks who live in Gwinnett go to work every day. So I think that's something that was really illuminated, at least the last ATL board meeting that was held, was how many connections, how many folks who go to work, who live in Gwinnett, go south and west. So, you can see Perimeter Center is a large employment center, Buckhead, Midtown, Downtown, and also the Emory CDC area. When folks are leaving Gwinnett, that's often where they're going. Additional work that was done was phone survey and online survey and public meetings. So this determined how to prioritize what folks in Gwinnett wanted, and heavy rail extension was really elevated to the top of the list of things that people wanted. However, bus rapid transit to a light rail conversion, express and local bus were all supported as well. So all of that work led into what is the Connect Gwinnett plan. And so we took what their plan is, and we highlighted the existing MARTA system, because I think one of the things that folks in Gwinnett said most strongly was that they wanted to be more connected to the rest of the region. So this is the combination of short, mid, and long-range projects. There's 50 miles total of bus rapid transit, and those are in the purple. There's also 5 miles of the Gold Line will be extended up to Jimmy Carter Boulevard, so that's the black and gold section that goes towards Norcross, that will go to a multimodal hub with likely land that Gwinnett County recently purchased. The various services are going to connect to 6 different MARTA rail stations existing. The paratransit services, which are quite limited now, only covering 20% of the land of the county, will be expanded to 65% of the county. And currently Gwinnett County Transit does not run on Sunday, and of course MARTA runs every day. And so that will transition to all of the bus service being run 7 days a week. Through this process of creating this contract, of course, the Gwinnett County Commission approved it in August, and then subsequently the MARTA board approved it in the fall. But the relationship that we've developed, these, of course, are our board chair, Frida Hartage, our former board chair, Robbie Ash, CEO Jeff Parker, and Charlotte Nash. And the relationships have really become quite strong, and we've become quite fond of each other. So the just key portions of the Gwinnett contract that I wanted to mention are so the difference between the Gwinnett contract and how the relationship works with our existing jurisdictions is that the sales tax revenue that is generated in our existing jurisdictions goes straight to MARTA. Under the Gwinnett contract, it will go to Gwinnett, and then they will pay MARTA for the services that are specified in the contract, which is basically the Gwinnett County Transit Plan, the Connect Gwinnett Plan.
So let me stop you on that,
Sure.
as far as the sales tax revenue, because I understand under House Bill 930 that all the taxes are going to stay with those jurisdictions. So is that, I guess that's something we need to work on in terms of the interface of that.
I don't believe that it's in House Bill 930, but it was a provision in the Gwinnett contract that was negotiated between Gwinnett County and MARTA, is for the arrangement to work that way.
Okay, I understand. I'm talking about a whole separate thing, so
Okay.
it would be related to this. That's why I ask. But if you're not familiar, then we'll just move on.
We'll ask it again. I feel like maybe I just didn't understand.
House Bill 930, of course, created the ATL.
Yes.
And I know one of the things that we need to work on as a committee is to take House Bill 930 and kind of work on that in context of the MARTA Act. And there are some overlaps, and there are some areas that need to be improved in terms of the code itself, probably this summer. And so I guess I was curious, one of the features of House Bill 930 was to allow the sales taxes for those different areas that they would have. One of the pitches, down here for that bill was that all these 13 metro counties would have control of those funds first, that they could pay MARTA for those, but they would have control of those funds. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I would expect, I know that MARTA had a separate contract on this, but I guess what I'm saying is that if that's in the Gwinnett contract, I think it's also consistent with House Bill 930 and just something we need to work on.
I guess I don't think that there needs to be any additional work on that piece. And I think there could be a challenge in the future depending upon how a county bonds. So if they wanted to do a major capital project, is the county's bond rating strong enough to support it? Should the money really be at MARTA in order to use our bonding capacity? I feel like those are the issues that we should think about in the future, but we're, quite a long ways away from, issuing bonds to fund capital projects. We have a bit more planning and prioritizing
first things
to do
first.
first.
No, I understand.
Okay, so the transition of the current bus contract. So right now, TransDev holds the contract that operates the Gwinnett County Transit bus system. And so MARTA will begin a transition of taking over that contract, and then ultimately the buses will become MARTA buses. For the first 6 years, Gwinnett will pay 29% of the sales tax revenue to MARTA to pay for the state of good repair and the bus service that we will be running, taking over from TransDev, and then there's a true up at the end of that 6-year period. The payments will cover debt service issued for Gwinnett projects. Gwinnett also has the option to purchase a higher level of service. So say if they wanted gold-plated bus shelters instead of the bus shelters that we're building at DeKalb County, Gwinnett could pay extra for such a thing. And also, any of the construction and operation of the projects that are in the Connect Gwinnett plan would be paid for with the Gwinnett County sales tax. The contract also provides for 3, if the referendum is successful, 3 MARTA board members appointed by Gwinnett County. So moving into, of course the referendum is coming up soon, we're 3 weeks from Election Day itself. Early voting started yesterday in just Lawrenceville, and the next 2 weeks they will be at a variety of locations around the county. They're 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then, of course, Election Day is Tuesday, March 19th.
So they are going to have the early voting is open on a couple of weekends then, I guess?
Yes, 2
Okay.
full weekends, both Saturday and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So in terms of what MARTA is doing to educate folks about this opportunity, we have a website on our website. If you go to itsmarta.com /Gwinnett, this is just a screenshot of what is on there. It has an overview of the contract and information about MARTA and how the systems will come together. It has resources both online and we have printed collateral. So like a fact sheet, has the voting locations, a calendar of all the community events that are happening. The county is holding a bunch of town halls, and then other entities, like for example, tomorrow night, the Lilburn CID has 2 more events. There are videos that that talk about people's personal transit experiences, and so that content is getting updated as we go. There are news, media clips, and then we have a separate email address. So if folks want MARTA or anybody else to come speak to their group, we have been available for that.
That's great. Have y'all done any polling at all?
Polling has been done by the campaign. Go Gwinnett is the Chamber of Commerce's campaign arm, and then there are a couple of other campaign committees who have registered to support. I have not seen the latest polling. And again, I think since this is a special election, it's really the turnout is going to determine this election.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, polling, of course, is just a snapshot in time about how the folks that you poll feel about something. But, this is very much a who shows up question.
Right. What do y'all expect the turnout to be?
So the number that we have been thinking is about between 80 and 100,000. But based on the initial numbers, it seems like it could be even a little bit higher than that.
And that would be what percentage?
I don't know. I guess there are.
That's pretty low. I mean, I think there are 1 million folks in Gwinnett, right? I thought it was close to 1 million, so that'd be like 10,
it's around
15%.
650,000
Okay.
registered voters. So
Mhm.
yeah, like in the ballpark of 10 to 12%.
Okay. Wow.
Other things I just wanted to share with you, we've translated our materials into 4 other languages besides English. We
That's
have
great.
all of our materials in Spanish, Korean, Vietnamese, as well as Mandarin. And all of that information has been sent to the Gwinnett County delegation for them to use if and how they want to. So
That's
fact
great.
sheet, there's a trifold, there's social media in all 5 languages. Closer to Election Day, we're going to be putting information, A-frames, and any station advertising that's not bought at the Chamblee, Doraville, Kensington, and Eastlake. Those are the 4 stations that are closest to Gwinnett and where most of the riders come into the rail system. So those stations will have information about the election. We will continue to put out these video series. It's sort of like a take on the How Do You MARTA videos that we've been doing for the city of Atlanta and more MARTA. So looking at, we have one that's a Georgia Tech professor who, he started riding the train when the I-85 bridge collapsed. And when it was reopened, he decided that his commute was so much less stressful when he took the train. And so he talks about, just how much nicer it would be if his trip from Lawrenceville was even shorter and there was a Jimmy Carter stop. So videos like that, just really making it real and human about what the success of, expanding transit in Gwinnett could mean for real people. So again, we've been attending community events almost every night as they are had. We're organizing a media ride-along. So we're going to explore what the areas look like, where the future transit routes will be, so people can kind of get a better sense of how things will be more connected, and also some of the redevelopment opportunities in those places. And then this is kind of a random but fun thing that we're doing this Saturday night. The Georgia Swarm, if you're not familiar with them, they are Georgia's professional lacrosse team. They play at the Infinite Energy Arena. And on Saturday night at their game, MARTA employees will be, I think we have 20 folks who have identified. We had a raffle yesterday, who will be going onto the stage and onto the field during halftime and recognized. So that's a fun, just sort of extra thing that we get to do in partnership that we get to build. Also, we had a town hall for our employees yesterday in our atrium. We have 425 MARTA employees who live in Gwinnett. we also went ahead and mailed everybody who works for MARTA because, of course, folks have friends and family. Even if they don't live in Gwinnett, most likely everyone in the region knows somebody who does. So just encouraging people to be aware that this election date is coming. And then I guess I would also like to, the Go Gwinnett campaign, Jeremiah Olney is here. If you have any questions about the campaign, of course, MARTA just is doing the educational piece. But yeah, the Go Gwinnett is the major campaign arm, and then there are a couple of other campaign committees that are doing voter education and voter turnout work. So happy to answer any questions.
Great. Representative Davis, did you have any questions? No? Okay. No, this all sounds great. I mean, I wish I will, and I guess I would just be curious if you were leveraging any of your friendly volunteers in Gwinnett as well.
The transit ambassador type volunteers?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we have folks going to these community events as well. We're not doing any of the canvassing and phone banking that's happening, but, the campaigns were at our employee town hall yesterday. So anybody who wants to get involved in this voter education and campaign work has been given the route to do so.
That's great. That's great. Well, I appreciate your efforts, and I really do sincerely wish all well, because I really think that we need Gwinnett in our transit system and as part of the MARTA team. So
Great.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having this.
I appreciate it. Any other questions, anybody? If not, I guess we will be adjourned. Thank y'all so much.